Hi folks, HR Funk here. Out on the range with something new from the folks at Osight. What I have here is the Osight SE. This is a new optic that is just coming out today, and it has some similarities to some of the past Osight models that have been released over the course of the past year or so, and it has some very distinct differences. So in this video, I'm going to tell you about the Osight SE. We're going to head back to the shop here momentarily, and I'll tell you all about its features and characteristics. Then we'll come back out to the range and see how it shoots. So here we go. And here is our first up-close look at the Osight SE. As you can see, it is an enclosed emitter style optic. The body of the Osight SE is constructed from 7075 T6 aluminum alloy, and it is very similar in form to the Osight S, although if you're familiar with that optic, you'll notice conspicuously the recharging surface on top of the sight is deleted from this one. And here we see the reason that that magnetic recharging surface is deleted, that being the side-mounted battery compartment. So unlike all the other Osights in the line, this is not a rechargeable optic. Rather, this one has a replaceable battery. And I know there were some purchasers who very much felt uncomfortable not being able to replace the battery in the rechargeable Osight. I'm not one of them. I have been using those rechargeable models for months, and they have worked very, very well for me. But if you fall into the category of someone who wants to be able to change the battery in your optic, you can do that with this one. All you have to do is remove this small screw. Now, I will tell you, this battery compartment door is very, very tight fitting. And it took me a little bit of work to get that thing out of there. And when I first received the sight, there is a piece of plastic on top of the battery that has to be removed. So I did have to open this up. Also, this little screw, at least for me, was kind of a bear to get back in there. It's very small, and I was trying to use my not very small fingers to get it back in the place where it goes, and I had some difficulty with that, but I was able to do it with the included tool. And since I mentioned that, I'll show you the other things that come along with the Osight SE when you purchase it. Accompanying the Osight SE in its package are several other items, beginning with an Osight tool. And these are the same for all Osight models, and I'm getting quite a collection of these things at this point. There is a card with both mounting and zeroing instructions that you can see here. In addition to that is the standard user's manual with all the other information about the Osight SE. There's a lens cleaning cloth, which I've not even bothered to take out of its package yet. And most conveniently, there is an assortment of common screws used for mounting an optic to a pistol slide. And there's a couple of great things about this. First off, they come with thread locker already on the screws. And they are also in different lengths. Now, if you're familiar with the Ruger RXM, you might already know that it is sensitive to having a screw on this side that is too long. And what can happen is if the screw comes down to the point that it touches the extractor depressor plunger, which you can see the end of right here, it can impede the functioning of that part of the pistol and cause cycling issues when you're trying to shoot. There are other handguns that have similar issues, so it is not specific to the Ruger RXM, and having those screws in different lengths is very nice. The Osight SE is built on the RMSC footprint, and it is a direct mount to the slide for any handgun that has that pattern of optic mounting platform. The Ruger RXM will accommodate both the RMSC and the RMR, but I have it configured currently for the RMSC style optic, and it was very quick and easy to mount the Osight SE to this slide. Here's a look at the side-mounted control buttons for the Osight SE. They consist of a plus and minus button. To turn the sight on, simply press and release either button. To turn it off, press both buttons simultaneously and the sight will power down. I am trying to get you a view of the reticle in the Osight SE, and the camera is not cooperating today. The reticle looks much more clear to your actual eye than I'm able to get it in focus in the camera. But just like the Osight S and the Osight X, the Osight SE has three reticle options. The first one you can kind of see right here, which features a 32 minute of angle circle around a 2 minute of angle dot. And by pressing and holding the minus button for 3 seconds, we can toggle through the other reticle options, which are the 2-minute of angle dot only, the 32-minute of angle circle only, and then we are back to the circle dot options. There are 10 brightness settings for the Osight SE that can be controlled by pressing either the plus or minus button. Obviously, the plus button makes the reticle brighter, the minus button makes it darker. Of those 10 brightness settings, 2 of them are night vision compatible, the other 8 are for normal daylight circumstances. The Osight SE is powered by a single CR1620 battery, so it's a slightly different size than we usually associate with pistol optics. It has a projected battery life from Osight of 4,660 hours, obviously with a fully charged battery. For the circle dot reticle, for the dot only, it has a projected battery life of 75,000 hours, and for the circle only, a projected battery life of 50,000 hours, and that is with the optic on a medium brightness setting. In order to help extend the battery life of the Osight SE, it features shake-awake technology. When the sight senses no movement for a period of 3 minutes, the reticle sleeps, but as soon as any movement is detected, it immediately comes back on. I've never had a problem with the shake-awake on any of the Osights that I've used, and I don't think there's going to be a problem with this one. The Osight SE is adjustable for both windage and elevation by means of the 2 screws that you see here. The screws are graduated in 1 minute of angle clicks, and also you see here at the very back, somewhat obscuring the elevation screw, an auxiliary rear sight, so in case you can't co-witness with the actual sights on your pistol, this gives you that auxiliary sighting system so long as the front sight is high enough to make use of it. And for anyone who might be curious, yes, I am able to co-witness the sights of the RXM with the Osight SE. It's difficult to see here. Once again, I'm still having those issues with my camera, but take my word for it, they do co-witness. The objective lens of the Osight SE is 0.83 inches wide by 0.55 inches high. The other dimensions for the Osight SE are in length, it is 1.59 inches long. It is just under an inch wide and just under an inch high, and the weight is 0.97 ounces, so just under 1 ounce in weight. The Osight SE is rated as being drop-proof from a distance of 1 meter. It's also waterproof to IPX7 standards, and it comes from Osight with a lifetime warranty. And here we are back out at the range with the Osight SE. And at this point, I have just finished zeroing the Osight SE at a distance of 25 yards. And it was one of the easiest zeroing processes I've ever gone through. I fired my first shot at a human silhouette target, and the elevation was virtually perfect, and it hit slightly to the left, so I made one windage correction and fired another shot that was basically dead center in the heart of the target. After that, I fired 3 shots just to confirm that setting, and it was perfect. So now I'm going to do some shooting on some defensive drills, and we'll see how the sight performs during those. But there's a couple of things I want to mention first, one of which is it is a very bright sunny day and I'm having no problem seeing the reticle in the Osight SE at all. So it is clearly daylight bright, and I don't know what setting I have it on. All I can tell you is it's bright enough. It looks like it was on about setting number 7. So no problem with the brightness. Now, unlike some of the other Osight models, there is no auto brightness setting for this optic. So you always have to manually either increase or decrease the brightness for whatever type of ambient light conditions you're shooting in. Also, something that I forgot to mention during the course of the shop review is there is a low battery indicator for the Osight SE. The way that works is when the battery gets low enough that it needs to be changed, the reticle will flash multiple times. I believe it's every 3 minutes. So if you're getting ready to shoot and all of a sudden you notice your reticle is flashing, that's telling you it's time to replace the battery. Now let's head over to the other range and try some defensive drills, and we'll see how the Osight SE performs on those. When I zeroed the Osight SE to the RXM, I had the reticle set on the 2-minute of angle dot only. I've now switched it over to the circle dot style reticle. Some of you know that I much prefer that because I find it to be much quicker to be able to get on target. So with the circle dot reticle, I'm going to try some controlled pairs here from a distance of 5 yards, and we'll see how they go. Looks like they went pretty well to me. I think all those are on the heart. And yes, all 6 of those shots from 5 yards are on the heart. You can see them right there. I'll cover those up with some stickers, then go back to 7 yards and try some failure drills from that distance. So failure drills from 7 yards. This is 2 shots to the body and 1 shot to the head in rapid succession. The reason it's called a failure drill is because it simulates a failure of the first 2 body shots to stop a hostile aggressor, so the 3rd shot to the head is necessary in order to resolve that threat. And since I zeroed the Osight SE at a distance of 25 yards, I do have to hold over a little bit when I'm at 5 yards and 7 yards. Let's see how this goes. I'd say that was just about the right holdover. I'll take those. Once more, all the body shots are on the heart. This is a great headshot. This one's a little bit low, but truthfully, if this was an actual hostile aggressor rather than a paper target, I think that hit would have been just fine. Now let's go back to 15 yards and try some body shots from there. Body shots from 15 yards. Once again using the circle dot reticle, and from this distance I don't think I'm going to have to hold over too much. By the way, I heard somebody recently say something along the lines of no serious shooter ever uses anything other than a dot when they're shooting with an optic, so the circle dot I guess excludes me from ever being considered a serious shooter, so I'll have to be an unserious shooter, I guess. And we'll see what happens from this distance while I'm being unserious. There's 5 unserious shots. I can't see them from here. Let's go down range and see where they hit. So there we go. Looks like 5 unserious shots from 15 yards on the heart. This one might be just off the heart into an artery. I still think my bad guy is going to be having a pretty tough day. Well, let's go back and try this from 25 yards. While I was setting up for this 25-yard stage, my target camera overheated, so I had to move it off to the side of the range where it's in some shade. That's why the angle is going to look different when you see that image this time than it has so far in the video. Hopefully it's going to survive there in the shade until I get done with this stage, and hopefully you can see me well since I moved this camera up closer to where I am now. As I said, this is 25 yards, right where the optic is zeroed. I'm going to fire 5 shots to the body from this distance. And I'm going to try to keep them right in that cluster of stickers that I see in the center of the target down there. That one felt a little high. And that one felt a little bit to the right. Let's go down range and see where they hit. I don't know if you're going to be able to see these or not, but I've got 1 almost in the center of the heart, 2 touching the bottom of the heart. This was actually inside the bottom of the heart, and that one clipped the bottom of the heart. 1 in the right lung, 1 in the left lung. Everything is staying well centered in the chest in that group. 5 out of the 6 is probably in 3 inches, and I think I pulled that one because I saw the sight move. I'll have to replay the video and see if that was the very last shot, because I saw the sight drift to the right just as the trigger broke. Moment of truth, folks, is the Osight SE, a 7-yard tack driver. I've got a tack in the target. I've got 3 rounds loaded into the RXM. And I've got to make this fast because I've got the camera back out in the sun again. I don't want it to die. Once again, at 7 yards, I have to hold over. And I held over too much on the first shot. So I need to come down just a touch. Elevation was perfect that time. I just have to come over a bit to the right. 1 shot left. And by the way, this is my last shot period. I don't have any more ammunition out here. So I'm either a hero or a 0 on this shot. And here it is, on the third shot. The Osight SE with the Ruger RXM is a 7-yard tack driver. That's pretty much going to do it for my review of the Osight SE. And I've got to say, in my estimation, this is a pretty darn good little pistol optic. And that doesn't surprise me because that's been the case with virtually every other Osight product that I have tested or worked with over the course of more than a year now. And along those lines, I have done enough endurance testing with those other Osight models that I don't feel the need to beat the daylights out of this one or freeze it or try to drown it or anything else. I've done that with other Osights and they've come through that testing just fine. I'm sure this is going to be just as durable as all those other models. So again, I just don't feel the need to go through that in this video. That's going to do it for today's video, folks. See you next time. And until then, good shooting. Bye-bye.